So in the year 1775, two important things happened. The first event occurred at a bar, specifically Tun Tavern in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And yes, on November 10th, 1775, my Marine Corps came alive. But that has nothing to do with this video. No, the event we're talking about happened in January over in Paris, France. You see, the Queen of France, Marie Antoinette, always thinking about the people, got frustrated with the shape of handkerchiefs. The big problem in her mind was that they were being made in all different sizes. Circles, rectangles, triangles. So she asked her husband, King Louis XVI, to fix this. So in January of 1775, a royal edict was issued. All handkerchiefs in France must be square. And to this day, we still call them pocket squares. But why do we wear them in a jacket's breast pocket? How did this tradition start? What does it signify? And what's up with all the different types of folds, and which one is right for you? Well, let's start this off at the beginning. The use of handkerchiefs goes back to ancient Egypt and has been documented in ancient Greece. The Romans carried them as well, and they didn't carry them to blow their nose. Now, can you guess the reason? Come on, I'll give you a couple seconds. Go down in the comments, let me know. Well, a quick hint is a belief that was common for thousands of years until just a couple hundred years ago. The belief was tied specifically to how disease was spread. You ever see those masks with the long noses used during the plague? Or paintings of people in antiquity when they were around the sick, how they would cover their mouths with a cloth? Yep, you guessed it. The ancient belief that it was bad air, that it was smell that would pass disease, led to a practice that lasted for almost 2,000 years of those with money carrying expensive, perfumed handkerchiefs to protect themselves from bad air. And so from the perspective of somebody in the Renaissance, this was actually a very useful accessory. It not only protected you, but depending on what it was made from, how it was decorated, the handkerchief that you carried would signal your status in society. In fact, there are records of the cost of some of those handkerchiefs for those in the royal court. Well, let's just say the cost was more than the average person made in an entire year. And if you think about it, it makes night sound a lot more practical. You know, when a maiden would drop her handkerchief, they'd go pick it up. Because him being a guy, he's thinking, hey, that thing is expensive. What's she doing dropping that thing on the ground? I'll pick that thing up and resell it. Now, on a side note, actually, a lot of the times the women would actually wear the handkerchiefs in their armpits. Huh? Yeah, they had some type of fetish things going on. All I'm going to say is your great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather was into smells. Now, by the 1880s, the miasmic theory is starting to disappear. But still, people are carrying handkerchiefs, they got a lot of them, and they already spent a lot of money on them. Well, all of a sudden, clothiers and let's say some of the fashionistas at the time, they got a bright idea. Now, gents, really quick, as I was making this video, I realized I actually have some limited edition Armorous pocket squares that I had made a few years ago. Well, if you'd like to get one, or win possibly some of the watches, fragrances, other men's accessories and clothing I talk about here on the channel, well, gents, you need to join our free community over at school. This is the official RMRS community. It's absolutely free. And in this group, you've got like-minded men just like you sharing their ideas, outfit of the day, giving style advice and encouragement so that you can become the man you know yourself to be. So gents, go over to school.com/RMRS. That's our group, absolutely free. I'm putting the link down in the description. And like I said, here soon I'm going to be giving away a few of these pocket squares along with tons of other items. It's actually one of the reasons I created that group is I wanted a place where I could reward and give you guys the excess stuff that companies keep sending me. But seriously, it's an awesome group. We've even got free courses in there. So if you want to learn, if you want to be able to step up your style with some quick free guides, we've got you covered over there in the RMRS community. Oh, and if you're really into fragrances or watches, we've got those communities as well. The Brotherhood of Scent and Watch Lover. So all three of those communities, absolutely free. I will link to them down in the description. So the suit jacket, as we know, it started to evolve out of military uniforms about 200 years ago. One of the things a lot of tailors started to add, though, was a pocket in which you could put glasses, you could put pens, you could put anything that you needed quick access to, a ticket. And they put it in a place where most men were right-handed. They could reach over and just grab it. The breast pocket's original purpose was simply storage. Now, as men would store things in there, of course, you would have a few outliers. Some guys, hey, they just liked the look. And they had these fancy handkerchiefs, which at the time they used, so they would put them right in there. And oftentimes, they would hang out. Yes, most guys would probably go with a square presidential fold, but you had other guys that were just getting the puff. They were just stuffing it in there because they knew they were going to pull it out to possibly blow their nose, but more likely to protect themselves from bad air, because that theory took a long time to disappear, by the way. Now, by the 20th century, we started to see media, in particular magazines, newspapers, and again, we saw the leaders of state. We would see royalty, we would see the celebrities at the time sporting their jackets with a handkerchief that would be stylishly shown in the pocket. So at this point, it started to become a fashion trend. In the 1920s and 1930s, it became a full-on standard. Thanks to the men of Hollywood, we saw the best-dressed men always wearing a jacket, wearing a suit with a pocket square neatly folded or with a bit of sprezzatura, which in case you didn't know, the idea of that word is it looks careless, it looks like they just stuffed it in, but in reality, they carefully folded it to make it look good without even trying, if that makes any sense. By the 1950s and 1960s, this has been adopted by all the fashion houses. You go to Savile Row, you aren't going to see a jacket without a pocket square. Any fashion house making suits understand that the pocket square, this is the garnish on top of the dish. And as someone that's designed suits and always tries to wear a pocket square, I can tell you it's one of those small details that everyone seems to notice. And I can't tell you how many times I've gotten compliments on the square I'm wearing, even when you can barely see it. And in case you're wondering, yes, in this video, I've used pocket square and handkerchief interchangeably. I would say the difference if you're out there shopping is a handkerchief is something you're going to keep in your back pocket and, used for blowing. Your pocket square is usually going to be made of silk, and that is the one made for showing that goes in the jacket breast pocket. And speaking of materials, yes, for pocket squares, the most common material we're going to see out there is going to be silk. On less expensive pocket squares, you're going to see polyesters, you're going to see rayon. And I'm not going to bash those materials because I've seen some good ones and I like how they make this accessory a little bit more accessible. But if you're going for a presidential fold, the material you're probably going to want to shoot for, one that actually is going to take a hard edge, is going to be either cotton or linen. I personally prefer cotton. I find that it's a little bit cheaper, easier to find, and it does a better job of holding its shape. Now, speaking of shapes, we've got the presidential fold. As you can see right here, this is one of the simplest folds out there. I like to show about 1/2 inch to 1/4 inch right above the pocket. If you're just getting started in a pocket square, going with a simple white pocket square, you may have to play around with the folds to get it to sit in there perfectly, but this is a great place to start. And if you're ever self-conscious about it, just know that, hey, you could take it right out, or you can just tuck it all the way down and you won't even have to worry about it. Now, the 1-point fold, this one is pretty simple. As you can see here, you're just going to have that 1 point up. And this one works really well with cotton pocket squares, although you can make it work with a silk. Now, if you want to get fancy, you can go with the 2-point, you can go with the 3-point. Again, you can make this happen with silk, but if you really want it to stay, you're going to have to look for a cotton pocket square because the silk is best suited, in my opinion, for the puff fold. And you're going to see this in a lot of my videos. I just like the puff fold because I can throw it right in there. I don't have to think about it. I've got that splash of color, and yeah, it's one of the easier ones out there to make happen. Now, what about the crown fold and winged puff? Well, this is getting all fancy, and if you're into this one, guys, I've got a number of tutorials on how to fold these pocket squares. I will link to it down in the description of the video to make it easy for you. Now, at this point, if you're thinking, Antonio, man, that looks like a lot of work. Why even bother? How would I even start this? So the easiest way to get started, I'll tell you, is to, whenever your jackets are hanging, this is actually where I store almost all my pocket squares. In all of my jackets, I've got a pocket square in them, so I don't even have to think about it. And usually I make sure the pocket square is pretty simple, so I know it's going to match pretty much any shirt or pair of trousers I wear with it. But the reason that you want to wear a pocket square, I don't know about you, but I rarely wear a necktie nowadays. So whenever I throw on a jacket, I just feel with the pocket square, it sends a quick signal that I've got style, that I pay attention to the details, that I chose not to wear a necktie. Not that I couldn't, not that I forgot to. It's simply, hey, I didn't want to, and my accessory, my bit of style is right here on the breast pocket. That's right, gents. Elegance, personal style, and a bit of history all in the pocket square. If you like this video, guys, continue your viewing experience right here. I love talking about history and men's style. Guys, I got you covered. You are going to love this video if you love today's video, because when you understand why we wear what we wear, it makes it so much easier to dress sharp, look good, and to be the best dressed man in the room. So guys, go check it out. And don't forget, join our community. I'll link to it down in the description over at school. But yeah, keep watching videos. Got you covered. Boom.